Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Just a mere couple of episodes after we spoke about how people with antibodies did not get reinfected in a fishing vessel, we are talking today about what seems to be the first confirmed case of actual reinfection. The two are not contradictory. Remember, those three people had antibodies in their blood, which will of course keep the virus away. In this case too, the immune system worked to prevent the virus from causing too much harm the second time around. In this episode, we'll discuss what actually happened with this patient from Hong Kong who got reinfected, how researchers were able to confirm that it was indeed a reinfection, why this is not such a big deal, and why immunologists are calling this a textbook example of how the immune system should behave. My name is Sandhya Ramesh and this is Pure Science. Late afternoon yesterday, local time, researchers at the Hong Kong University's Department of Microbiology released details about the first ever confirmed case of reinfection with the novel coronavirus. The patient was a 33-year-old man who had gotten infected again 4.5 months after he got infected the first time. He had been infected on March 26th with mild symptoms including fever, cough and headache, and then he was discharged after he tested negative twice. Then in August, he went to Spain. When he was returning to Hong Kong via London, a routine test through saliva on August 15th indicated that he was reinfected with the virus. But we know that people have long COVID where they are ill for weeks or months together. We know that people can shed the virus for several weeks even after recovery. We know just viral remnants can trigger a positive test even when a person is not ill with the COVID disease or is infectious. So, how were researchers able to ascertain that this was indeed a case of reinfection and not just long COVID or a reactivation of the virus, etc.? The researchers were able to make sure that these were two different infections by sequencing the virus that this patient was infected with both times. The genetic sequences indicated that the virus from both infections were genetically different. As this news is reported, we'll once again see reports of two different strains of infection. Let's remember that there's only one strain of this virus, but there are many mutations which are colloquially referred to as strains. Mutations can be used to identify where the virus came from geographically, and no mutation is more potent or spreads more than any other mutation. So researchers identified that this person got infected with two different mutations, confirming that the second infection was a reinfection. Reinfections have been reported elsewhere anecdotally, but this is the first one to be confirmed through rigorous testing. There were differences in 24 nucleotides between the two viral sequences. The study is to be published in the journal Clinical Infectious Diseases soon. Now, scary as this reinfection might sound, there actually is nothing to worry too much when it comes to reinfections. Common cold causing coronaviruses are known to reinfect in less than a year. We were hoping that this coronavirus might turn out to be like the SARS and MERS coronaviruses and offer us a protection of a year or two, but now, guess not. Immunologists, virologists and health experts are also not too worried about reinfections. The second infection was asymptomatic. Clearly, the person's immune system was not strong enough to block reinfection entirely, so the virus did make its way into the body, but the body's immune system was able to prevent the disease, so it was effective enough to stave off the worst. The patient also did not have any antibodies during the time of reinfection, unlike what happened in the fishing vessel American Dynasty. Inside American Dynasty, 3 people had antibodies in their blood, and when there was an outbreak inside of the fishing vessel, they did not get reinfected. Even then, one person did show mild traces of having the virus in their body, even though they were not technically classified as an infection. Here, this 33-year-old Hong Kong man had no antibodies, and the virus was then also able to penetrate the body. But then he did end up developing antibodies quickly after reinfection, which is good news. The reinfection does have some implications. First and the most obvious one, of course, is that things might not open up as easily, as smoothly, or even as early as we thought they would. Any reopening will now start seeing reinfections and will likely have to shut down again. Because even if the people getting reinfected are safe, unless we know that they are not infectious, they will remain a risk, and an outbreak will always be risky. So mobility restrictions and preventive measures will be in place for a lot longer. But the bigger implication this has is for herd immunity of the wrong kind, that is through natural infection. Many people talk about herd immunity as a way for mass protection without vaccination for the entire population, but we are now well aware that such a strategy, which the UK flirted with in the beginning, would lead to millions of preventable deaths. Herd immunity is a concept that is associated only with vaccination, and it is also achievable safely only with vaccination. But we've had a number of antibody and sero surveys recently that seem to indicate that anywhere from 5% to up to 35% of a local population have antibodies. So we talk about herd immunity through natural infection once again when it comes to opening the economy up. However, what this reinfection finding shows us is that herd immunity through natural infection will now no longer be a working concept, irrespective of how many deaths this process can avoid. If antibodies disappear in a month or two and a person can get infected again, and worse, if they can spread the infection, natural herd immunity can never be achieved. This means that the only practical way to go about tackling and keeping the virus at bay is through planned and methodical vaccination drives. And even those who have been infected should also be included in vaccine studies, as the authors of this Hong Kong University study also say. Lastly, this reinfection report is not without caveats. Naturally, it is just one case. So while the case shows us that reinfection is now possible and has sort of put that debate to a bit of a rest, theoretically, there still isn't enough information to understand the entire range of outcomes from reinfection. Does every person who gets reinfected remain asymptomatic? Does everyone get reinfected? How frequent or rare is reinfection? Because some epidemiologists actually seem to think that it might be pretty rare. Do all reinfections take the same time to clear, etc., etc.? There are lots of questions that we do not have the answers to yet. And naturally, to find out more about reinfections, we'll have to do a lot more next generation sequencing. Next gen sequencing is how this patient was identified. It is one where a large number of samples can be sequenced simultaneously. The researchers have also come under criticism because they have not revealed the finding as a preprint before release, before publication in the journal, or a report. Instead, they have released it as a press release. Dr. Angela Rasmussen, a virologist from Columbia University, raised a number of valid questions that the press release doesn't answer. Did the patient develop antibodies after the first infection? If they did not, how do we identify which recovered patients need a vaccine? How many people were screened to find this one case? So by extension, how rare was this? We just have to take all the results released at face value because the data is not been released. Of course, this could also mean that COVID is likely to circulate in the human population just like other human coronaviruses do, causing illnesses all year round among us. But still, all that said, a confirmed reinfection makes it one less thing to be uncertain about and one more thing to anticipate in dealing with this pandemic.